It's my great honor to be in this historical moment, 1999 CSLAP seminar. So humbly speaking, so I hope I can make you more exciting, and then you are looking forward to see 100 next month seminar as well. Okay, today I'm going to share very interesting, hopefully exciting story about drought resilience on climate change, also combined with the new term of agroecology. So before my presentation, I want to acknowledge President Professor Chung to invite me to CSLAP, also SILA. Again, it's my truly honor. Also, I want to acknowledge my co-authors, my colleagues. One is coming from Cameroon, Cleto, and then also Colombia, Federico, and then Bettina and Stefan from Germany. So we are working together to develop this idea. So today, what I present, it's not only my idea, but also coming from my colleagues and their work as well. Okay. Just simply introducing myself, I finished my PhD 2008 at Iowa State University in the United States. So I studied about how to mitigate greenhouse gas emission in food sector, and agricultural sector. And then we call postdoc. After PhD, we do some research. I did one postdoc in Ireland, another one is New Zealand. And then since 2012, I have been almost 13 years in Havasu University, located in southern part of Ethiopia. Luckily, last year, October, I started my sabbatical leave, the research leave. So I'm currently studying, working, and a little bit playing in Kyunghee University in South Korea. So hopefully, one day you can stop by Kyunghee University so we can chat more. Throughout my presentation, I don't want to say I know something. I want to share my idea or knowledge and experience to you. It's not my job. Today, what I want to talk with you is actually, since I arrived in Ethiopia 13 years ago, I have been slowly, steadily developing a few good questions, and then I'm getting small answer one day, day by day. So hopefully, mainly I will share my own question, and then also I can share some answer I found, and then hopefully you can give me some advice how to enhance my question, actually polish my answer as well. So today, I need your advice. Please help me. The first question I got, also the question sounds like getting more important day by day. Why drought? Why drought resilience? So I have been in Ethiopia. Actually, it's a very well-known country for getting huge impact from climate change, especially drought. If you search Google and you put the Ethiopia, most of the image you see is a very drought-stricken Ethiopian part. Very sad, very unfortunate. So last year, I was very surprised by two articles published by Nature almost same time. As you know, Nature is quite famous journal. Usually when they select article, they never duplicate the same topic in the same period. You know it. But last year, Nature picked up the very similar article continuously. One topic was warming accelerated global drought. And then second article was impact of climate change on global agriculture. when I look at these two articles was actually quite well linked together. They are saying same story throughout. So from the article, I want to show you one very interesting figure. I'm sure some of you may not aware of this scientific figure. So there are many number, some up and down color. So for your information, I will slowly inform about this figure. We call x-axis here, starting from 19, and then currently there is time series. Y-axis is quite interesting. Area in drought and percentage. They mean these authors, they won't show drought area as a percentage. Right? They assume 100% as a global land, and then they count how much global land actually is affected by drought. Understand? Okay? And then starting from early 19 to 1950, you can see the whole lines are, of course, up and down, up and up and down. Scientifically or statistically saying they are not significantly different. They just up and down year by year. And then even from 1950 to 1970, surprisingly, some of the data show a little bit declining situation. You can see slowly coming down. And then from 1980 up to now, you can see very significant increase. Even they increase like exponential curve. Like see my arm, get that. Something is increasing this way, we call linear increase, but the curve will show like exponential increase, like this way. At a certain stage, they are blowing up. So we are here. We are here. So these figures very strongly, very clearly tell us drought is getting serious, way, way beyond what we experienced last 100 years. Are you following me? Do you understand this figure? Okay, don't blame me. I didn't make this one. I just follow them. If I owe them, I think I can be better. Anyway, the second figure from the second paper, I will explain more detail. This figure, you can see global map, and then some parts are blue, some parts are red, isn't it? And then what they say, predicted end of century change of crop yield from climate change, especially it's focused on maize or corn. So as you can see, some of the area by end of century become red. They mean they intend to say negative change. They mean the yield is decrease. And then some parties actually positive change. They mean yield is actually increase. Overall, it's clear. Most of the current Africa and Latin America, some part of Asia, they show the very reddish color, isn't it? That means there are something negative change. Negative change means reduce of yield. So simply saying, by end of century, we are going to lose up to around 28% of maize or corn production. As you know, maize is a very important crop for human as well as crop for livestock. Both are totally rely on maize nowadays. Especially the country where I'm from, Ethiopia, ordinary case, almost 20 to 30% are malnutrition. Just ordinary case. There is no drought, no severe typhoon whatsoever. they already 30% malnutrition. But based on the result, if there is further 28% of major loss, it can be their malnutrition has doubled up. That's a really serious situation. So I'm sure you already know OECD. Professor Zhang also quite involved in OECD as well. Last year, OECD produced a very special report titled as Global Drought Outlook. A special report concerning about drought. It's not long document, so if you have a chance, go there and download. It's very well documented. So in this document, as far as I understand, they want give us big alarming sign to OECD country. You guys wake up and it is time to invest. Put the money on the table and then try to think about how to cope with drought. Drought is not anymore some scientists like me thinking about, worried about. Drought is not anymore some country like Ethiopia, they worried about. It's global issue. It's not just institution, academy, they discuss, they publish data. All country, they have to wake up, they have to put the money, and then they have to carry on next step. So they clear show sign. So based on this, a few evidence, I realized drought or drought resilience. It's a really critical issue. Even I can say it's a kind of a very important survival strategy in climate change area. So I'm sure you also share this kind of a serious situation based on your research, based on your study, or based on your exposure to mass media. Following this question, we are developing next step, next question. Since we recognize drought in resilience is really important, we are thinking about how to enhance drought resilience. It's obvious. If we know the problem, it is time to think about how to resolve the problem. So how to enhance drought resilience. While we are thinking about finding out good resolution, how to enhance drought resilience, we recognize that there are a couple of very common strategies we have been utilizing last a few hundred years to deal with the drought. Because as you see, drought is not new thing. Drought has been over a century in the Earth system. So this picture probably, I guess, Korean people not aware of it, but if someone from Canada, North America, Canada,
Yes.
you know it. You have seen this kind of a big steel arm something.
Yes.
Can you give us your idea what the heck is going on there?
They're just like water.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. So like a very advanced or very agriculture-oriented state like US, America, so some part of Europe, they have 100,000 hectares of the agricultural land. Whenever they need water, it's not easy manually carry on a jar of water and then spread by. So they developed kind of very fancy, expensive system. They put the long arm, sometimes up to 100 meter, and then they put the tiny nozzle meter by meter, and then they pumped up the water from aquifer, and then they spread. So believe it or not, to managing this kind of system, sometimes we use supercomputer. It doesn't make sense. Are you using supercomputer to apply water? It actually requires very, very sophisticated algorithm. Otherwise, they actually just waste up all the water in up there. So anyway, we call irrigation system. in Korean, 관계수로, 관계기법. So usually when we think about how to cope with the drought, the first target is let's provide enough water to the crop. That's probably a very easy way or simple way. If they need, put more water. So they put out this kind of very fancy, expensive, sophisticated system. And then it turned out, of course, this irrigation system actually provided very, very useful water resource to crop or agriculture system. But at the same time, there are a few very serious problems we never expected before. It's mainly coming from resource issue, water resource issue. As I mentioned, this system, they have to utilize groundwater. So Iowa State of Iowa, where I did my PhD, previously, they can actually pump up the water from the very, very shallow groundwater, 10 meter, 20 meter. But they pumped up 100 or 200 years, so groundwater in the shallow aquifer, they already used up. So they have to go down more deep. So nowadays, ordinary irrigation, they pumped up almost 50 or even 100 meter deeper. Amazing technology. But think about how much energy we have to use up to pump up the water from 100 meter deep aquifer. Also, believe it or not, pump up aquifer, it's easy. Turn on the switch and then huge power, they suck up the water and then they just fly up. However, if we want to recharge groundwater, it takes minimum 100 years. Just 1 cm of aquifer groundwater, it takes 100 years scale. So this is one of the big problems, this modern irrigation. Again, energy is quite intensive. Also, since they apply large field without any sophisticated control, efficiency is very low. They have to apply every year. Sun come out, they evaporate quickly before the water reach to soil or crop root. The efficiency is quite low. And then another problem is actually the soil salinization issue, but it's too much complicated. Simply saying, if we continuously irrigate, the water contains a lot of ionic salt, and then the salt accumulates in soil. And finally, at a certain time later, soil becomes salty property. And then local people, they can understand. But every year, my crop is getting lower. I apply same amount of fertilizer. I apply same amount of water. And then they invite soil scientists. They look at, they found out, oh, your soil become a salt. You can cook it. What happened? Eh? I didn't do anything. I just apply the water as much as I can. That's anyway. Unfortunately, this very well-known common strategy ended up surprising negative situation. Another common strategy we have been applying is actually very similar to supporting water. They try to find out very, very useful crop which has a very high drought tolerance, resilience. As you know, globally, there are many regions has a semi-arid or arid zone. And then surprisingly, in the zone, there are also very well-growing plants. Also, there are crops. So some scientists find out, wow, in this tough condition, plant grow very well, even crop grow well, even they harvest. So they pick up the very unique crop they bring the lab, even they breed while genetically modified, and then they try to utilize that kind of very special gift to overcome upcoming climate change, including drought. As far as know, a few internationally well-known crop company, they developed two very good species, and now even Canada, North America, everywhere they now commercially available. So even farmer, they actually adapt to that kind of species. And then surprisingly, this brilliant drought resilience crop ended up a few but very significant problems. First one is actually this newly developed, even genetically modified crop, their performance is not steady state. Sometimes they are very, or sometimes their performance is very bad. The yields are quite seriously low. Local farmers are not happy because they have to loan the money to buy new breed crop, and then they have to pay back, but yield is quite low. It's not easy to pay back everything they loan. And then interesting is actually yield drag. Yield drag in this time, what I can say, is throughout the crop is working very well under the drought condition. But what happened? The year rain comes on time, enough amount, and then everything is perfect. But the crop itself, it's not made for that kind of good condition. So yield is actually very low compared to ordinary crop. It's paradox. And then this solution is like, let's use previous water issue. It's actually only looking at plants. They are not sure about other factor which driving drought, which actually can have drought. Anyway, through our literature review, I co-authors we recognize common strategy to cope with the drought resilience. Of course, they brought amazing result. They save a lot of hunger, famine, but at the same time, unfortunately, they provide very critical issue. We recognize this both side. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not criticizing one side. I'm just showing you very fairly. One side, we got a very good result. Other side, we got another unfortunate result. We have to recognize this situation. While we are learning about this common strategy, surprisingly, we bumped up a few very strong locations, like this sentence. A well-seeable, underutilized, traditional, indigenous agroecological system demonstrate remarkable resilience to drought. Really, indigenous agroecological system show the drought tolerance? Really? What's the meaning of underutilized agroecological system? I never heard it. We never heard it. That's interesting. Even agroecology. I know agriculture, I know agronomy, I know ecology, but agroecology? Of course, somehow combination of agriculture, agronomy with ecology. I can see, I can smell it, but I'm not sure what's the meaning of agroecology. So we actually tried to find out good definition of agroecology, and then we found out FAO, UN FAO, they have one good definition. So as far as understood, this agroecology is actually combining ecological, social concept and principle for sustainable agriculture and sustainable food system. So for me, combining agriculture with the ecology, it's not big deal, but somehow ecology and social aspect, that's actually very new because my background is most likely the environment, engineering, management, agronomy. Sociology is not my field, but what I learned from my school, my experience, this part, ecology, sociology, usually they don't come along together. They are always on some separate parts. So we dig in more. Okay, looks like it's very fancy idea, something new. So we find out this new term agroecology was invented by Basil Benzin. This guy is actually Moscow-born American scientist. He got a PhD in Minnesota University in the United States. He used this agroecology term 1928. It's quite a new term at the time. And then many years later, around 40 years later, German professor Wolfgang Tischler, he published a book titled as Agroecology. So it sounds like Basil Benzin, Wolfgang Tischler was a front runner of this agroecology, agricultural aspect. But as you expect, this agroecology was not that attended by many scientists at all. Probably just 5 or 6 researchers, they still carry on. Usually they actually coming from German, France, and then a few from United States. And then, surprisingly, around 1915, 16, 17, 18, somehow, including FAO, International Scientific Committee, they start agroecology and they try to bring up the stage. And then FAO was bold enough to put this small book called 10 Elements of Agroecology. 10대 요소, 이런 식으로 얘기하죠. And then following next year, European Union support this report, agroecological other innovative approach. When I look at the both report, it's actually they are following Basil Benzin, Wolfgang Tischler's main idea, and then they are putting modern technology. So just for your information, I pick up the one easy figure from FAO 10 Elements of Agroecology. The center is actually, they put the synergy. And then diversity, co-creation, efficiency, resilience are surrounded. And then these elements are supported by governance, also a circular economy. So somehow they put everything under the ecological concept, but also social concept as well. So anyway, I'm not the best person to explain this one. So if you have a chance to access FAO, you can download, you can see just 10-page report, but very easy. So anyway, including myself, our colleague, we actually were so interested about this approach, we decide, okay, let's go to this section. In Korean, 무 아니면 도. Go or not go. So what we did, in my case, since I'm in Ethiopia, one of the probably very well-known indigenous tech country, so I start finding out people who know this kind of traditional knowledge. And then some of them, like my German colleague, they look at the very old article, even we cannot through search the Google. They ask librarian, find out any old Latin or old French journal published for 70, 80, and 100 years ago. And then what we found out so far, we found out very interesting 6 different underutilized indigenous agricultural system. So more insect, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know how much time is allowed for me today. I tried to pick up a few quite interesting one and then show you some kind of a glimpse idea of what we have found so far.
Actually, you have 24 hours.
Are you sure? Not me. Enjoy your So I tried to pick just a few of them. So I don't want to review you. Let's starting from this picture. Okay. This picture I drew by Walter Hood Fitch. This is a very well-known Scottish botanist. Nowadays, like me, we never use sketchbook, drawing pencil because pick up your smartphone, take a picture, and then you can put on the Google, and then you can utilize AI to identify what kind of species it is, which is native. But think about, usually botanists, they are artists. They go there, they sit in front of a small insect or tree, look at very carefully, they draw line by line carefully. So look at that. Can you guess what kind of tree or grass would be compared to the human, which is quite tall? Have you seen this kind of thing? Of course, not in South Korea, but if you go to some kind of arboretum, you may see this kind of thing. It's banana.
I think so.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. Let's get excited. Okay. Actually, banana, but it's a false banana. It's fake banana. It's not banana, actually. For example, why it's not banana? The fruit is horrible. You cannot eat it. So it is called insect, scientific name, insect verticosum. So this is not tree, it's glass, quite a tall glass up to 6 meters, and then almost 50 kilogram of the weight. And then surprisingly, this is actually native to eastern part of Africa, like including Ethiopia, but only domesticated in Ethiopia. So quite interesting. And then this banana, first banana, it's actually usually almost 50 gram out of 250 kilograms. It's actually good for our diet consumption, drinking, bread, something like that. And then this insect, it's not actually monocropping. They are growing with other plant, other crop. It is called agroecology. So anyway, so they never plant by only insect. They actually plant with other tree. The reason I brought this issue is actually local people call this first banana insect like a famine fruit. When drought come, they actually consume this fruit. So that means somehow these insects, they can survive even very severe drought. And many scientists, including me, they actually knocked out how this insect can survive, although maize or sorghum, they can die. And then one thing very interesting actually, when we cut and we look at the stem part, surprisingly, stem is actually sponge-like structure. So you can see there are many holes. They actually hold water during the rain season. And then in drought season, they utilize the water. So by themselves, they have a mechanism keeping their water during the rain available period, and then drought season, they utilize. Like my pet, I'm accumulating around the cat just in case if I cannot any celery anymore, so I can take out my pet. Even the root part is similar. Huge chunk, they have almost half of the biomass is water soaked. And then probably this slide, I don't want to give you more detail because half of them, you have no idea what kind of scientific term you are saying about. Probably you're a Kookmin University professor and you are know very well. So I don't need to explain to you some of them. Whatever I explain, we have no idea. Just scientists do something medicine. What I can say is the leaves has a very special function. They have huge pumping power. They can suck up the water from the on the ground. They actually pump it up very quickly. Of course, all the plants they have that kind of a function, but these have a very short power. Also, they open their stomata and will close it very quickly, so they can actually try to modify while minimize evapotranspiration. And then, interestingly, they actually kill their part quickly. Once drought starts, I found out even one night, almost 30% of their leaves are turned yellow, and then next day they just fall down. Very quickly. I thought, did someone hurt last night? Why these guys fall down every outside the layer? And then local people say, hey, that's what they are doing. They know when drought come, and then they just kill by themselves. They crop their eyes. Another surprising thing, actually, we barely touch in science, but soil. When we call soil organic matter, like something, if you travel Korean mountain, yeah, you can see a lot of forest soil has a lot of organic matter. If soil has a lot of organic matter, what happens? This soil can contain more water. So soil has more organic matter, they can contain more water. Surprisingly, insect agroforestry, they provide more organic matter to soil. Soil has a high organic matter compared to ordinary crop field, and that means they have a high capacity to hold water. So this is actually what we found why local people call insect as a famine crop. Here, this is just, I want to show you what kind of research I am doing in Ethiopia, but the last figure, you can see there are some small white box hanging on the pole. So we are monitoring soil temperature, soil moisture, air temperature, because we have hypothesis these big leaves, they actually kind of make a shade area. So this shade area, obviously, they can reduce soil temperature, air temperature, just in case if sunshine is quite severe. Also, we monitor not only temperature, but also moisture. And then I found out, it's not published yet, due to this early, I can see ordinary situation, temperature is 1.5 Celsius lower. But even very drought condition, these big leaves, they can reduce temperature around 1 Celsius. You know, in plant physiology, 1 Celsius change is big deal. And 1 Celsius, no, it can actually change a lot of yield as well. Just in case if you are interested in this kind of research, look at the Facebook webpage, Inset Resilience, that's our project webpage. Anyway, briefly speaking, in case of insect-based agroecology, we found out this system, they store water. Also, since they have a lot of diversity in terms of genetic, some of the genetic diversity have a very good drought tolerance resilience. Also, as I mentioned, this system contain a lot of organic matter, so at the same time, they contain a lot of water. Also, due to the big leaves, they can actually buffer extreme weather conditions like very strong sunshine or heavy rain. Another important thing is almost 40 kilogram out of 50 kilogram of full body, either they consume as a bread or drink, even they can feed animal as well. Unfortunately, no banana. Anyway, so I showed one example from Africa. I'm still looking for other country. I'm sure there are a lot out there. Another good example from Latin America. Okay. Have we heard this name, milpa? No? Okay. Now I can see there is no I can do for you. The milpa is actually traditional Mesoamerican ecosystem. So usually Mexico, Guatemala, other part of Central America, they have been utilizing this system 1,000 years. Then very interesting is actually this milpa system has a nickname. Nickname is Three Sisters. Three Sisters. Why Three Sisters? Because they put maize, bean, squash in one place. Can you imagine? Maize is growing, and then bean is growing, and then squash is actually covering the soil. They call three sisters. These three sisters, very luckily, they don't fight each other. They don't yell each other. They don't bite each other. They live together very well. And then here is the magic of three sisters. Here, maize, bean, squash. As you know, maize is originated from this area. Also, maize is very important crop for these people. And then, because maize is very standing tall, they can provide a good shade for other part. See, maize become a vertical scaffold for teamwork. So, bean, they can climb the maize. Bean also really interesting crop. As you know, bean actually provide natural fertilizer to soil. So it's quite complicated soil microbiology. There are certain bacteria live nearby root. This bacteria has amazing function. They can absorb air. They can distinguish nitrogen in the air, and then they change nitrogen to mineral like ammonia, and then this part can be utilized for other plant. So each bean itself is actually natural fertilizer factory. So bean can help maize. Now squash. I like squash because I'm farm boy. Always actually, squash is my best toy as well as best energy source. Squash has a really, really good mineral, even some kind of anti-hidden material for cancer cure. So squash is very important diet for this area. And then, as you know, squash actually they spread their leaf on surface. Also, leaf is quite large. Think about it. This area, their sunshine is really strong. Also, their rainfall shower is really strong. If the soil is exposed to direct sunshine, direct rainfall, you can imagine how much soil erosion will happen. The large leaves of squash, they actually buffer strong sunshine, also strong rainfall. So they can prevent extraordinary event like soil erosion or runoff. Somehow, maize, beans, squash, they are really, really perfect ideal three sisters. They don't fight each other. They don't need each other. They help each other. As far as I understand. So this system also, sorry, they can manage soil moisture. They have a diverse crop system. It's good for soil. It's good for human diet. Also, they can actually control microclimate like temperature or moisture. Somehow, this is also very well known local drought tolerance strategy. Do you understand? Hmm? Are you following me? Okay. So far, I introduced one system from Africa, my home country, my country, Ethiopia, and then another country from your Latin America. How much time I can have more?
Well, it's up to you.
Professor John, how much time I can do?
I think within 10 to
Well, usually we start to give you, say, 30 to 40 minutes, but I've never seen any speaker to finish the presentation within the time period. So it's very flexible. Usually seminar tends to be finished around noon or so. So feel free to spend more time if you want.
Yeah, just because I don't want to drag your beautiful Saturday. So I'm sure you will hate me. So just let me introduce another system, just one more, okay? Let's skip many things. I have many things, but it's not important for you guys. This is coming from Spain or Portugal. So see this beautiful.
this picture in food restaurant.
Yeah. See, very green oak tree growing, what I can say, pristine area, and then delicious, sexy pigs are actually grazing. So it called the Hasa or Montado system. Then the Hasa is actually in Spanish, and Montado is actually Portugal. The name is different, but they call the same system, but they call different name. It's a very unique, very well-known agro silver pastoral system. Agro means agriculture, silver means silviculture, pastoral is pastoral. Somehow combining agriculture, silviculture means actually growing tree, growing timber, am I right?
Yes.
And then pastoral is just grazing livestock. They combine three things together. And then, how can I say, usually oak tree. And then local farmers, they actually could put the very native grass. And then let them graze their pig or lamb or cattle. let them graze freely. It's not in-housing or co-system, just free graze. So according to my Spanish or Portuguese scientists, they say this system has a quite good biodiversity. Also, they can regulate water and nutrient cycle. Probably I can give you an idea. Nutrient cycle. What happened in nutrient cycle in this system? Because they eat and they poo on site. Think about current factory style livestock management system. All the livestock sitting in small cages, small house, and then they eat there, they sleep there, they poo there. All the nutrients are accumulating in this small house. Farmers, they hard to figure out how to fix this accumulated nutrient in safely way. Either they have to put them in very expensive water treatment facility, or even they have to sell to other people, ask them other people to treat in the more commercial way. However, this time they feed in the ground freely and then let them food there so they can cycle by themselves. Also, due to this kind of recycling process, it turned out this system, they can sequester carbon. You know, carbon sequestering now is a big deal due to the climate change. So it has not only agricultural purpose, but also enhancing biodiversity. At the same time, they can increase carbon sequestration. It's triple. And then, in terms of economic, this is the place we can get the very expensive hamon, Miami. You know it. And then also, you know, nowadays it's almost gone, but if you buy very expensive wine or champagne, you can have a still Coke. This Coke is coming from here, very exclusive. So this system, it is indigenous, but at the moment, very well-known commercial system as well. So, although I couldn't print everything, but somehow this kind of a traditional system and set in Africa, Amazon chakra, also Milpa, and then also Lhasa, this kind of traditional system, we found out they have very specific but very understandable rural management system. Also, they increase biodiversity. Also, they actually help better soil health, better nutrient cycle. And then, surprisingly, they can actually control extreme climate, and then they can reduce the extreme weather situation. Also, in terms of livelihood, in terms of food security, they have amazing function. Even famine period, they can provide at least minimum calorie local people can survive. So far, we found out this kind of a strategy. If you allow me just one more slide. At the moment, me and my colleague, we're thinking about, okay, it looks like agroecology or indigenous agricultural system, they have a very good strategy to enhance drought resilience. But how to scaling this indigenous technology in 21st century, it is great society. Think about, can you make that kind of really big grazing oak tree free area in somewhere nearby Seoul or inside Seoul? Can you plant 5-meter tall banana-like tree in your apartment? Probably only either crazy or luxury rich people can do it. So we think, okay, let us recognize this important thing, but how to bring this thing more practical in modern 21st century. And then we are now thinking about, okay, instead of thinking about solution, let's think about what kind of a challenge we have of scaling this system. And then, this is actually, to me, a very bold statement, but I can say all of modern agriculture, food relate system or governance or decision-making process, and we are actually totally dominated by the concept, green revolution concept. As far as understood, of course, I'm not green revolution generation, probably my previous generation, everything was just focused on performance, yield, efficiency. And then they trade off what? Diversity. Select a few very important species, maize, rice. And then they actually change their breed, genetically modify, and then make them grow fast under the very intensive care, putting fertilizer, pesticide, and then everybody is thinking about grow more, harvest more, grow more, harvest more, while you are sacrificing diversity, while diversity related to traditional farming system. Even in our school, at least when I trained in Iowa State University, or previous my master, I never heard about diversity or resilience. Never. Probably you are different from my generation. You may heard this kind of thing, but for me, it's a very unknown concept because we are legacy of green revolution, policy, market system, even school. Everything is focused on grow more, grow fast, harvest more, harvest first, whatever we put in. This kind of, say, very narrow-minded, narrow vision, somehow, I don't know how to explain, but somehow this kind of overwhelming concept, we actually don't have a room for thinking about beyond this box. So for us, the most challenging thing is actually how to figure out under this green revolution dominate society, think about beyond performance, beyond efficiency, how to include this diversity, especially somehow forgotten indigenous knowledge. So we think this is the most important challenge. So let me summarize what I was thinking about. Take-home question rather than take-home message. So I and my colleague, we are actually addressing this question. Why drought resilience is important in this climate era? Also, can you find any good solution, any tip, any implication from our traditional or forgotten, underutilized agricultural systems? And then also, is it possible to scaling this indigenous knowledge in 21st modern society? What kind of a problem we are dealing with? How to actually overcome this threshold? These three questions we are addressing. So now, I place it to you. You can give me advice how to find a good answer under these three questions. Thank you so much for your attention.